Now a 12 News exclusive. We're talking one-on-one with a top federal official about tens of millions of dollars set to be invested right here in local ports.
Yeah, U.S. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg announcing more than $600 million in federal grants for port upgrades this morning.
He spoke with 12 News politics editor Ted Nesi about why New Bedford is one of the big winners.
This money was made available as part of the bipartisan infrastructure law that President Biden signed back in 2021. Today, the U.S. Transportation Department is announcing that 41 ports nationwide are sharing over $600 million in grants, including 2 in our region. The big winner locally is the Port of New Bedford, which will receive over $24 million in federal funding to rebuild and expand Leonard's Wharf. That's one of the largest grants being awarded in the country today. Officials say the project will make the port more resilient as sea levels rise and also be useful to the offshore wind industry. And in Rhode Island, the Port of Davisville at Quonset will also receive funding. Quonset is getting just under $4 million to build a new cargo loading ramp at Pier 1. Ahead of the announcement, I spoke one-on-one with Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, who said the application process for these funds was, quote, highly competitive, with demand from ports 5 times higher than the amount of money available.
We're really excited. $24 million headed to New Bedford for those capacity improvements. North Kingstown getting about $3.9 million. That's going to help there in these 2 ports that are job generators for their communities. But again, you don't have to live anywhere. You don't even have to live in New England to be better off because we're making these port investments. They strengthen the American economy.
And coming up later today, starting on 12 News at 4, more from my conversation with Secretary Buttigieg, including whether he's any closer to approving funding for the massive Cape Cod Bridges project. Ted Nesi, 12 News.
12 investigators talking one-on-one with a top federal official about new investments in the region's ports. Today, the U.S. Transportation Department announced over $600 million for port upgrades nationwide, including the Port of New Bedford and Quonset's Port of Davisville. 12 News politics editor Ted Nesi talked one-on-one with U.S. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg about the announcement. Here's some of that conversation.
Secretary, thanks for taking a few minutes this morning to talk with us about these new grants coming out in our region, port money for both the city of New Bedford and the Massachusetts part of our region, as well as North Kingstown on the Rhode Island side. Can you just tell us a little about what program this money is coming from and what the goal is here?
Thanks. We're really excited about this program. This is all part of President Biden's infrastructure package, making sure that we get dollars out to improve infrastructure we all count on. Some of it's roads and bridges, things everyone uses and everyone understands. But the thing about ports is whether you live on a port or not, whether you're involved in shipping or not, we all count on our ports as well. They're a huge part of our supply chains, huge part of how we support manufacturing jobs, how we get the goods that we count on every day. And we need to invest in them. We need to strengthen them. We need to grow their capacity. We need to make sure that they're reinforced against issues like rising sea levels, which can compromise a lot of our ports. That's what this funding is about. And we're really excited. $24 million headed to New Bedford for those capacity improvements. North Kingstown getting about $3.9 million. That's going to help there in these 2 ports that are job generators for their communities. But again, you don't have to live anywhere. You don't even have to live in New England to be better off because we're making these port investments. They strengthen the American economy.
Just a few steps away from New Bedford are the Cape Cod Bridges. Senator Warren, Senator Markey, Congressman Keating, I know have all been lobbying you for assistance on that. That's not part of today's announcement. It's a whole different thing. But just is that something the department is thinking about? It's a big topic of conversation up here.
Yeah, I've certainly heard a lot from the senators and the congressional delegation about this. Also from the governor, who has been showing a lot of leadership on how to solve problems and move this project forward. It is a big, not just big and complicated bridges physically, it's also a big and complicated project financially in order to get it done. But I know how important this is. I know how much of a focus it's been, and we're committed to working closely with the state and with the congressional delegation to advance a solution that's going to work for the long run.
And Secretary Buttigieg also says he's developed a good working relationship with former Rhode Island Governor Gina Raimondo in her role as U.S. Commerce Secretary. He says that's partly because the two sit next to each other in cabinet meetings.